I feel so alive.
Now, when you first get here, will it be the dream or will it be a nightmare? To me, that seems the main reason why people are sitting on the fence instead of living their best life. I think the biggest fear for me in the beginning was the financial insecurity. How would I even know where to start? In this video, I will share with you what I wish I had known before I got here. I will go over a couple of ideas and concepts which may help you get beyond that fear. How I could accurately imagine what my life and lifestyle could be like. I went from living below the poverty line in San Diego to living upper middle class here in the Philippines in about 24 hours. That is just a fact. This video is meant to help you get off the fence if this is something you really want to do. My desire in this video to encourage the courage in you to get off that fence if this is your dream. I hear all of the vloggers and each has his own opinions and presents it in a different way. I think each has their own budget based upon their own lifestyle. Now, I knew I was not like most people, so how could I figure it out? Judging by the comments and questions I get, that seems to be the #1 reason people are sitting on the fence. Keep in mind, every person I ever asked if they could go back and change one thing, what would it be? And they've all said they would have done it sooner. That's everyone I've asked without exception. Now, when I listen to other YouTubers talk about their budgets, the way they spent their money with their activities at $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and how they couldn't be happy with less. Then I need to deduct for what I wouldn't be spending money on. And then I would add back what I would be spending on money on that they didn't. But it wasn't enough to get me off the fence. It wasn't enough to allow me to imagine or get a clearer view about a lifestyle here in the Philippines. How could you get over your financial insecurity if you couldn't develop a vision of what it'd be like? The most common analogy I've heard is that the cost of living here in the Philippines is about 1/3 the cost of living in America. Let me suggest a simple approach that I hadn't heard from anyone, but in my case, it would have worked well. Imagine your retirement income just tripled. At 3 times the income in San Diego, could I afford a small fixer house outside of town? Could I afford a car with insurance and maintenance? Vacations occasionally? Could I afford not to stress financially? Could I afford health insurance? Could I help the less fortunate once in a while? Could I add to a savings account monthly? The answer is yes. And that's pretty much exactly what my life is like here today in the Philippines. So if that works in one of the most expensive cities in America, I imagine it's probably going to work where you are. Using 3 times earnings there is pretty much exactly the way my life has turned out here. Now, after you've run all the numbers by deducting and adding back to other people's budgets, this should give you a good way to visualize what your life could be like when you're here. I mean, it's 1/3 the cost of living here, or 3 times the income there. It's half one, 6 of the other. Now, for most of us, unless we win the lottery, we know that's just not going to happen. But what could happen is we could move to a country where the cost of living was 1/3. And there's plenty of those. Now, in a lot of their budgets, they talked about the allowance for their wives, how much money they sent to her parents, and those kinds of things. One thing I can tell you is that to a budget, every one of them has a budget very similar to mine when I've added back the things that I wouldn't spend money on. And that's less than $1,000 a month. Now, let me get rational for a minute. Myself included, most of those guys live on what they make and will be happy on much less if that's all they ever made, just knowing they'd be better off and much happier than they would be in America on that same amount. Like many thinking about coming to the Philippines, I didn't have an exit strategy. Once that plane took off, there was no turning back. It was simply pass or fail. And that's why I sat on the fence for so long. Getting back to reality, if we were primarily living here because it's a low cost of living, it's probably because, for the most part, we always lived on whatever we made. We didn't save a lot. We didn't put a lot away. And still do. And that's why our budgets are high, regardless of how much money we make when we get here. If we made more, we'd probably spend more, and we'd probably believe we couldn't be happy with less. Now, here's an example. 2 months ago, I spent over $1,000 traveling. Now, I would never add that into my budget because most people wouldn't travel like I do. And the other guys don't add it in their budget because some of them don't even like traveling. The next month, I bought a brand new washer and dryer. Why? Because I could, because I wanted it. Somewhere in the last 3 months, I also bought a 55-inch flat screen TV brand new and spent about $300 finishing the man cave. Now, when I do my budgets, I don't include those things. I don't include those things because most people wouldn't be putting money into a house or buying appliances at that level or traveling as much as I do. Now, to be honest, I spend or save nearly $2,000 a month. But 65% of that I don't add into my budgets because it would be absolutely irrelevant to anybody judging how their life would be based upon my budget. So that's why my published budget is $600 to $700 a month, because I don't add in the construction, the appliances, or traveling. And that's why I post that as my budget. Is that living like a king or in paradise compared to living on the streets in a van in San Diego? Oh, hell yeah. And keep in mind, I would only have the van until it needed registration, insurance, or a major repair. Then even that would be gone. Call it what you will, but absolutely every single day when I wake up, I am happy to be here, especially when I think about the alternative. Now, people say they couldn't be happy living in the province on my budget the way that I do, but not one of them, from what I can tell, has ever lived in the province. What I needed was to know that I could live here comfortably. I didn't need to know about dating, sit around and fantasize about that. I just needed to know that I could make it here, period. I didn't have trouble dating in America. I had trouble surviving on the income that I had. The point of this exercise is to get over the financial insecurity about coming to the Philippines. From that simple perspective, it would be a lot easier for me to actually imagine my lifestyle and what it could be like accurately. And actually looking back, it would have been pretty accurate. Now, when I would sit and think about all the unknown financial issues, I would get a bit overwhelmed at times. That frame of mind isn't conducive to making life-changing decisions. Now, there is a method for dealing with that. For years, I worked in the banking business, and I never liked paperwork, but there was always an avalanche waiting for me every day. So what I would do is early in the morning, I would make a list of what I needed to accomplish that day, and I would take them one at a time. Otherwise, I would just get overwhelmed. So if you find yourself getting a bit overwhelmed, just make a list. Break it down into those smaller components that you can deal with more easily. The next big financial hurdle was to get over the insecurity I had about how I was going to access my money from the Philippines. I was chatting earlier with a friend of mine. He's in the process of liquidating all of his assets to move here. He's already been here for 6 weeks, and still, this is his biggest concern. I will give you the same advice. There is a way you can experience it firsthand before you even leave America. Then by the time you get here, you'll have enough experience firsthand to have resolved that issue. Now, my suggestion was that he actually get Remitly or Wise apps on his phone, get all signed up, and then begin sending money to himself. Now, anybody that listens to YouTubers who've been here a while have all heard the stories about the ATMs running out of cash right when they need it the most. I never have that problem because I never use ATMs. Got it? Good. Now, when using Remitly, an example might be as if you have ever sent money but Western Union. You fill out a form about you, and you fill out the other part of the form about who the receiver is. In this case, you would be the sender and the receiver on the same form. So you would use the Remitly app to send money to yourself, and then you can go to a Western Union and pick it up. In America, you use your ATM card every time you buy something, 7-Eleven, gas, etc., etc. Here, that's not the case. I can't even stress this enough. Some hotels don't even like to use the ATM or credit card. So if you get used to using Remitly to send money to yourself, usually in larger chunks, and then just get used to life on a cash basis. Try it for a month or two. And then probably the next big question is, where do I pick up money when I get there? Are there Western Unions easy to find? I live in a little town called Porac in the province, and it's 2 blocks long. In those 2 blocks, there's 7 places to pick up money, and 2 of them are Western Union. And only one of those is an ATM. Now, my best advice is just never use your ATM or credit cards when you get to the Philippines, except to book airline flights and hotels and, things that you have to book or buy online. Example would be, don't use your ATM card anywhere where you have to stick it in a machine. Again, in my little town in the province, there's 2 blocks long, 7 places to pick up money, and only one of them is an ATM. So ATMs can run out of money every other day, and I wouldn't even know it. Now, in this case, if you don't use it, you won't lose it. Another point is that the corporate center for Remitly is in Seattle, Washington. So I've never got a call from my bank about suspicious usage in the Philippines or overseas. Now, having your bank cut off the use of your funds until they verify can be very bad timing. Just keep it at home in a drawer, and you won't have to worry about losing it or having it sucked up by an ATM machine because your bank got nervous. Before you can open up a Philippine bank account, you're going to need an ACR card, and you will have to been here for around 6 months. In my case, I have a bank account with BDO. They let me open it up after 6 months, but the bank account that I have is a savings account. It's not a checking account, but it does come with an ATM. So I do use that ATM when I'm out running around. And whenever I've used that card, as far as I can remember the last 6 months, it's really just been when I've been shopping for food at one of the larger hypermarkets supermarkets. And that's probably less than once a month on average. Maybe once every 6 weeks I actually use my ATM card. I will keep a balance on the bank account there, and then if I run out of cash somewhere at nighttime when I need money, I'll go pull out a few thousand pesos at the ATM using my Philippine bank card. Now, the other pawn shop type places that I pick up money is usually between 8 in the morning and 8 in the evening, and I'm usually picking up 500 at a time, so that ATM card will work. Now, I did lose my ATM card probably because I'm 70 and I walked away after I put it in a machine somewhere, but I did go to BDO branch and they gave me a card and I walked out same day. Anyway, that's about what I've got for you on these topics, my friend. These are two important, the main areas I get regarding financial freedom that are causing a lot of angst and anxiety and insecurity about coming to the Philippines. So you can get some good service from banks here, but you're just going to have to be here for a while. They don't like giving bank accounts and going through all that paperwork for tourists who are only going to be here for a few months. I believe it's also a government regulation to stop the flow of money laundering. It's not complicated, so don't complicate it by overthinking. Just open up an account, start sending money to yourself, and by the time you get here, it'll just be a natural, normal way of being. The good news is you can put that concern to rest before you leave America. So the sooner you get used to it, the better. That's my recommendation. Please subscribe, like, maybe share with a friend who's interested in coming to the Philippines or a family member that's concerned about you coming to the Philippines.
I know man passing by, life is good, best I've ever felt.